Hi everyone, it's Eileen here. Okay, so I wanted to do a session on a topic that I think is really, really important at the moment. And I took out a card to see what would come up and related to it, and it is the wounded child. Okay. So one of the biggest things that we have started to see over the last few years that has, I suppose it started to hike up even more, is the breaking down of many things and the breaking down of what would be like systems and breaking down of ideas, and even in many ways a breaking down within ourselves and the belief structures that we've had, a breaking down of the old, right? And that can show up in, I mean, the layers to this are, they're limitless. In life, we all have situations in a life where we believe things or things are a set way. And then all of a sudden life changes, and it's the same as business. And business, we can do things a certain way, and then the old way doesn't work anymore. Something changes. It can be society changes, it can be the economy changes, it can be dynamics within the business, or our own dynamic within us in relation to the business. It can be lots of things. That means that element breaks down in different ways. And we often think when things start to break down and change and dissolve and maybe feel as if they're collapsing, that's a negative thing. But if you think about when you want to build a new house and you want to start, you need to often, break down or, like, for example, my parents at the moment, it's just been unfortunate, but just before lockdown, my brother had decided to kind of take over the family home. It was a big house because there was a lot of us, and a situation where he would they would have the house and then remodel the house for my parents and him and his family. And he, at that time, he sold his home, which was quite a big house, and they took a temporary accommodation and so that then they could do this remodeling. But pandemic happens and a lot of things happened. And things didn't go as planned at the time. Lots of things changed and they had to do lots of things differently for so many reasons. And for my parents, it's been a big upheaval because they knew that they didn't want the pressure of having a big house and all the other things, the pressure that comes with that, having to maintain a large house. And we're looking forward to, obviously, some of the family being closer to them, particularly there's wee ones. But the restructuring of that house it's came with its stress. It's came with, a grieving process. It's also came with some excitement, some new, but problems and good things. That's what happens in life. Now, your business and your purpose can be a bit like that, right? There can be 4 elements that are still the same. So if you are building a new house on the same land, it's still the same land, right? But it might look completely different. Okay, it might be a bit like the home you had before. It might look nothing like, right? And sometimes that's what happens in life, right? And that's sometimes what happens in our career in so many things, right? There's so many things that we don't always expect, right? Now, I recently had, I've been getting sort of boys treatments, which the therapist, she's great and she's been doing, lots of things, but it's just one of those things because I have a lot of complexities and because of an old injury. It was almost like when I got the last treatment, I had a flare up and some challenges, right? And also, I've had a lot going on, what you would call maybe emotionally, to do with family and things that are going on at the moment. Also had a lot of experiences where I knew that a lot of things I needed to change within one side of my business, particularly. There were a lot of things I needed to change, and I had to let go, right? Now, I'm not someone that fears change in that way, but I'm one of those people that I don't want to let people down, because I'm a bit of a rescuer and because I am very strong in the caregiver traits, very strongly. It's all about protection, making sure everybody's okay. And that kind of archetype can often put other people first before themselves. So often when they're making decisions that involve other people, they tend to sacrifice themselves. But I realized that I had to really make some big, big decisions on something that I didn't really want to make that decision, but I knew I had to. Because for me to build that new house, I had to let go of the old house and the old structures because even a lot of, so it was almost like for me to up level my purpose and my mission, for me to really do on the next level of what I'm here to do was I had to let go of the old house, right? And letting go of the old house is not easy, especially if there's some people that are still in the house and you have to move them along. Like, okay, so that's what it's been like. And interesting over I made a decision at the when would it be the end of March? I just once sometimes I can make and it just comes in, it goes, right, that's it, that's the decision, and I'm going right away and have to do it. But like a lot of things in life, sometimes the universe kind of there's a kickback to certain things, and there's also like tests to see how strong we are to, for example, when you're on a spiritual mission, right? People assume when they're on their soul's mission that everything goes straight and everything goes crystal clear and that everything's going to be straightforward and when you're on your soul's mission. But the soul often needs lots of lessons, and part of our involvement and part of being a human, right, is that we come with a lot of baggage, right? Or we end up with a lot of baggage and a lot of distortions, and we make lots of mistakes along the way, and we don't see everything always as clearly, and the ego likes to take over, and the ego likes to distract us, the ego likes to confuse us, right? And often part of our mission is huge lessons and things that at the time we think, oh, why? I don't need this at the moment. But there's always another reason. And some of that is that, like, say, what happened with my brother through the pandemic, they had to put the house on hold. Now, they ended up in this tiny accommodation and the baby was born. They had another child, but the baby was born, so there was another baby in the home. They were in that house a lot longer, a few years, when they were only thought they were going to be in 6 months at the most. And that led to all sorts of other things. Now, just like as all these things happen in life, we sometimes we things don't go the way that we planned or the ego planned, right? And sometimes also it does go, it just how we perceived it was supposed to go. how we wanted it to go is not how it kind of turns out in the way, or it's almost like the path can go a wee bit windy and you end up in a better position further on than what you think you will be, or a different space, but it's just the path didn't turn out the way that it wasn't. It's as if you're, say for example, you're going on holiday and you decide you're going to Bangkok, right? And or Bangkok, sorry, Bangkok. I'm like, there's a big difference. But say that you decide you want to go this certain scenic route, but guess what? Guess what happens? You end up it takes you 6 weeks to get there because something happens, but you end up, guess what? You experience something and you end up meeting people, or maybe you end up meeting the love of your life. Something else happens, and that's what happens with life. And I've had to be reminded the last couple of weeks because I've had to really slow down. I've been forced to take the time out, which is lots of healing for me, because I had an old injury at the time that was left, and I always felt that I had my shoulder had been out of socket, and at the time I was poo-hooed. I ended up with lots of complications, but there was lots of things happened to other injuries at the time, and I'm now realizing that also what I've went through the last couple of weeks is the body releasing physical trauma, the body releasing old ways of being, because the body is ready. My body is, I've been doing so much work on myself the last 6 years with so many complications I had, and I'm ready to up level. But during the process, it's like almost the body is moving its own time, like a house being reconstructed, right? Getting back into balance, getting, new, good, strong foundations again, getting things right. Sometimes patience has to be a virtue, right? Now, when you think about the wounded child, right? If you think about a house where it gets damaged, or a house gets some knocks and falls and things happen to that structure, right? And it gets wounded, and it gets old, and it gets, maybe something wasn't done properly. Maybe, the house wasn't designed properly at the time. Somebody else come in with dodgy plumbing, right? And gave them the wrong ideas to do things. So, and that's like when we're a child, we can get lots of wounding and lots of weird ideas about things and taught things, and things can happen. And some of them can be lessons that we learn out of it, and we start creating positive structure out of it. We learn from the mistakes, and we realize that we learn compassion. We learn how to be more resilient. We learn how to be more independent. But then there's other things that sabotage us. So when you look at your purpose and your business, it's so important to look at the child wounding that is maybe chipping away at your business, is chipping away at your personal resources, your business resources. What is interfering? What wounding is sabotaging your business, is sabotaging your purpose? What is stopping you step in? So for me, it was interesting. The right shoulder represents a lot to do with taking on responsibility, also not feeling as if you're getting supported and getting like valued, right? And if we look at that from the like a child's perspective, so let's even look at that, the situation that's come up for me, for you, is where in your life do you feel you are not supported? Where in your life are you holding on to someone else, taking responsibility for someone or something else that does not belong to you, including your clients, or even somebody that's working for you? I'm trying to think who else, colleagues. One of the big things is sometimes clients, we start, it's easy to when they're not taking self-responsibility and they're not being honest with themselves. So these kind of things, or even students, sometimes we can attract very needy students and needy clients who expect us to hold their hand. And I seen a post the other day, interesting, and it was talking about, and I know there is some things that and sometimes I've described this as like I'm holding your hand in a little bit way, but this post was all about how, like, the person didn't need to do anything. They would be holding their hand, but not just holding their hand, they would be doing it all for them. And it was abdicating. It was very disempowering, that post, because it was more or less saying, I'm going to take all your responsibility away and sort it all out for you. We're in life, we have to be the person that takes responsibility for building that house, right? And even the damage that's been done, right? And some of it is going back and refixing the plumbing, right? Refixing all those things that have been designed in a way that are not that great. So when you look at the inner child, what areas in your life have constructed like damaging patterns that are self-sabotaging your ability to move forward strongly, and what things are positive? What are the really powerful things that from your wounding has helped you be generous, helped you be compassionate, helped you be honest, authentic, and being genuine, right? It's so important, because when you understand your greatest strengths and you understand, like, the building when you're in a home, and you understand the strengths, the love of a family home, the things that you love about it, all these kind of things, and what you learn from building that home before. What was the good things? What was the not so good things? It's the same with a business, right? Now, in society right now, we are in a situation where things are being broken down. The things are coming up, and even how we do things. I've talked about this for a long, long time, how we even do business, even the way, even the things that I talk about, spiritual marketing, there's so many levels to that. And as I shift, that even evolve. But how we do things is evolving, is changing, because it's breaking down of the old. And we can only vibrate higher and raise our mission, raise our purpose, when we have the ability to let go of the old. And sometimes that letting go of the old does mean a period of rehabilitation. It means a period of reconstruction, a period of discomfort, a period of patience, right? And sometimes, like, we have to pause and take the time to maybe do the inner work, or like build the inner foundations to that new structure. Okay. So I'm going to leave it there, because I think that's been enough said. I hope you're all well. And remember, out of your wounding is so many strengths. So it's important. What is the strengths that are your biggest asset, and what are the things that's about being honest, what needs to be reconstructed? What is your biggest triggers at the moment, right? Where are you being completely honest, and where have you built your biggest strengths in life? What's your biggest resources, and what areas are areas that are the wounding needs more help, so that you can build on, build your business, really own your purpose, and up level to, create the new earth. Okay, take care, everyone. Bye bye.